Thank you, Mr. Gottsman, and thank you also for the introduction. Yes, you can see here my official task today is the emergency planning for the volcanic risk at Vesuvius and Campi Flegrei, but I cannot hide to you that connecting with the time after lunch, where I have a second task that is to let you awake during my presentation, so I hope that I can I can take the goal on that. And I really, thanks this morning, I enjoyed a lot with the reference done by Mr. Breton that was talking about the contemporary musician. So I would like to accept the challenge, and I would like to say that I hope that my English would not be like Madonna would say the Spanish lullaby, that in my case would be an Italian lullaby, and so it would be even worse. So going on to the agenda, just introduce my country. We are talking about 60 million people country, 20 regions, 2 autonomous provinces, 104 provinces, 8,100 municipalities. And a very important issue is that the 72% of that municipality has got less than 5,000 people in. So this can be very interesting when we discuss about administration, administrator, and so on, because we are talking also of a lot of administrators that have the responsibility of people that are less than 5,000 people. So we have to immediately ask to us the capability of this person, the capability of this administrator to deal with such important emergency. Another thing that I would like to underline before going deeper in the system is that our system, our civil protection system is a devolved one. It's not a central system, but it's a system that is devolved to the territory. Our major stakeholders are the regions, and the regions are the real actors of the civil protection management. And this is very important to understand our systems. So we deal with the regions, but the principal actor are the majors, because the majors are the person who have the responsibility of the citizen. So what is on charge on the national system? On the national system, we have the forecast national level. So at the national level, the forecast. Then we have the prevention. But our kind of prevention of civil protection, it's not a structural prevention. It's just a non-structural prevention. So we are talking about the plan. The emergency management. And obviously, what are the activities of the post-emergency activities? So this is very important to understand how we can move in our system and how we can deal also with the scientific part. The risks. I would say, I will resume saying all. Seismic, hydrological, floods, volcanic, that is on the agenda, forest fire, industrial, nuclear, technological transports, supply networks, environmental. We have more or less tested all of them, more or less, and more or less at a different level. So this is very important, because when this morning I listened about testing, and we will talk later on about exercise, we must understand what does mean to test a procedure that involves 300,000 people. How we can test it, how this test can be really a real test for the real emergency. This is a question that we must make ourselves, try to make an answer. Coming back to the volcanic risk in Campania region, because my task, I say the official one, was volcanic risk in Vesuvius and Campi Flegrei. So we are focusing on Campania. This picture was already shown this morning from my colleague, Professor Rosi. I would like to underline that we are talking about 2 million people that live in volcanic area, and that can be directly affected from volcanic risks. And 1 million of them live in Campania region. So this is just to understand what we are talking about. Vesuvio, 1944, last eruption, Campi Flegrei, and Ischia. How is structured our system? I've already talked about the devolved system at the territory local. And our department is inside the presidency of the Council of the Ministers, so the head of the department, Prefetto Gabrielli, is directly connected with the Prime Minister. And this is a very important choice that has been done in 1992 when was issued the law that regulate our system, the 225 of 1992, that imagine the civil protection system not like a direct structured body on the territory, but a coordination body. We just have a coordination system, and the structures are, which are the structures that ordinarily are present on the territory. So you can see we have a list of them, but I would like to reassume saying that it's the best of the country. We had the duty, we are on charge on coordination, the best of the country with the needs. That is our way to see the civil protection. And obviously, you see on the right also the structures that directly deal with us. And I would like to underline that the part of the scientific part is very strictly connected with our tasks. And we are strictly connected not just outside our department, but inside our department. We have offices that are branches that are strictly connected with the scientific part, because we need to translate what the scientific part want to say at an operational part. So you have to have someone that let me understand also inside my structures what is the direct connection with a scientific issue and how we can get this scientific issue an operative procedures or an operative activity. Tomorrow you will have the chance to see our Sala Situazione Italia, but also you will deal with the Centri Funzionale Nazionale, Centrale. Our Sala Situazione Italia is our national operative room. It's obviously 24 hours operating 365 days per year, so it's always operating. And our Sala Situazione is connected with the operational crisis room of the national structures. So you can see on the left here there are the logos of the Carabinieri, Polizia, Guardia di Finanza, Corpo Forestale dello Stato, that are our police. We have 6 police in Italy. Then we have the connection, directly connection with the joint military force, because in our country there is a force that is reassume all the military positions, so not just army or navy or air force, but it's a joint structure that is operative on all these sectors. Here we have the connection with the operative national part of the powerful, of the supply, the lifelines that are fundamental today for managing an emergency. And obviously we are connected with the territory, with the regions, and with the prefecture. So this morning we were talking about arrows. We were talking about double sign with arrows. Obviously, all this information has got a double arrow, because we can have information from the territory, or we can give information to the territory, and so on with all the other forces that are inside here. Here there is just what we do, but it's already what I already explained. We have the event communication. We take measures, we action with planification. We check the availability of resources. We make the evaluation of the necessity of additional support on the ground, and then we have a constant contact with the actors that are involved. And then, obviously, we have the report of the activities. This is another way of showing you what I'm saying. We have the monitoring net, the Centro Funzionale Centrale for all what is forecast or what, obviously, the connection with the scientist part, the operational national room, and this is our early warning and real-time communication, then sala situazionitaria and emergency procedures. As you can see on the left, we also have a box that is concerning about the press, that it's quite fast. I mean, there is no faster than the press. We cannot go faster than the press goes. But there is a problem that this kind of information must be checked before to be involved inside our emergency procedure, but because it's not an institutional information. So when we have the information from the press, we first have the duty to check it, because maybe it's not checked at the real situation. What happened when an event occurs? Operational committee, national committee, is chaired by the head of the department. In this table are sitting all the people that can decide in an emergency at the national level. So also this I will reassume on that. Obviously you have the police forces, the fire brigade, the joint military force, everybody. The scientific part too, that is with us when we take decision, and this is very important, who decide and who decide who is going to give the input on the decision. And on this table are seated just people that can say, I can do this or I cannot do. There are no people that have to say, I just have to ask. This is a decisional round table. And obviously it's chaired from the head of the department, maybe could be also present the Prime Minister. Okay, going on, now we go deeper inside our task. Vesuvius and Campi Flegrei. I would like to underline one thing. This morning I was hearing, it seems to me that we started to do something today. But well, I would like to say that it's not like it seems. We are a lot of years that we are working on that. So I would like to have the impression, to give you the impression that today the system, the Italian system, wake up and say, okay, what is Campi Flegrei is Vesuvio. The problem is that it's a very quite difficult issue because it's a difficult territory, because it's a difficult matter to deal with, but we are dealing with that since a lot of years. So here you can see institutional of working group, planning, exercise. In 2006, we have done an exercise on Vesuvio, and we moved 1,500 people. So we are working. It's not starting now. We are working. And we are working now, and we are talking about the plans about Vesuvius and Campi Flegrei that was done in 2001, and now we are updating that plans. And obviously, we want to update that plan starting with the connection with the science, because the connection with the science gives up the scenarios. If we have not a scenarios, we cannot make the plan. That's the circle. Which are the steps for the elaboration of an emergency plan? Strong interaction with local authorities. This is important in our system. That's why I underlined our devolved system, because there is not the big planificator here that is going to make the plan for the territory. It doesn't work like that. It works that there is a national level, then there is a regional level, then there is a municipality level, and we must put all this together. There is not one person that can do that. And we must understand that the plan has a double arrow. So the central and the national level, they give you the general issue. That we must start from the feeling of the people, from the awareness of the people. If we don't match that, we are not a plan, we are just a paper that we put inside somewhere, and we are not going to use it when it really have to do it. So we have to obviously take care about the legislation at the national and regional level. Then we share operational procedures with the components and the operational structures, because we have sectors that we must deal with. The involvement of other regions, because in our planning there is the twinnings of the people that are in Campania, and if they have to be moved, they have to be moved inside other part of Italy, so we have the twinnings with the region, and then, very, very important, the dissemination of the emergency plan to the civil protection operators and to the population. This is the key. So, emergency plan, eruptive scenario and alert levels, obviously operational strategy and intervention model. I think that the part of the scientist is very important in the point 1, but it has got also an important in part 2, operational strategy, not because we want to involve the scientist part in the operational strategies, because the operational strategies is our problem. But we must deal, because if we don't deal with the scientific part, we cannot do the operational strategy. For example, when we will talk about the yellow zone of Vesuvius and Campi Flegrei, that is a zone where there is a dynamic way of managing the emergency. It means that the dynamic part must be with the scientific part, the support, who is going to take the decision. And this is dynamic, so you are involved in the operational strategy. And then, obviously, the specific emergency plan that are for the sectors. I know that you know this hill. I know that you know much better than I do this hill. This wheat hill 1944 and this wheat hill today is called Vesuvio. So, emergency plan is dealing with this, the growing up of society. Because this morning also we talk about the awareness. It's obvious that if you live near Etna or near Stromboli, you remind every day that you are near a volcano. But if you are near a hill, a Vesuvio, that are years that is doing nothing, you forget that, we forget that. And we need to grow, because these volcanoes is going to be quiet, if I can use this term, I don't know. And this quiet is side by side with the growing up of the society. So the finish of the Second World, the explosion of democracy, the explosion of building, the explosion of society, and this is the result. And now, in 2013, we say, hey, what's going on? So we must deal with that. It's not just we forgot, but why we forgot and what is happened inside this period of time. Last eruption, 1944. I just would like to remind, I'm sorry because you are obviously more inside this question than me. I'm just a hard operator. I don't know how could say it by myself, but the last eruption was 1944. You know that it began in August 43, and Naples was freed by the Americans in September 43. So we are talking about a city that was in the fully period of war, where the society had to see at this, but we cannot compare with the society of today. What are people are expecting for the managing of an emergency today? Also this we have to do. We have to think about that. 1945-43 liberation, freedom of Naples, September. This eruption, the biggest eruption, was in March of 1944. The emergency plan 2001, 3 zones, red zone, yellow zone, blue zone. The red zone is an area immediately surrounding the volcano with a great danger and potentially subject to the invasion by pyroclastic flows, 18 municipalities that are involved in Naples provinces. The yellow zone corresponds to the entire area that could be affected by the fallout of the pyroclastic particles like ash and lapilli. And this yellow zone will not be involved completely in one eruption. We estimate that just 10% of that area will be involved. But obviously, you have to take care about the whole yellow area. We are talking about 96 municipalities and provinces, Napoli, Salerno, Avellino, and Benevento. Then there is a blue zone inside a yellow one that is correspond with the valley of Acerra Nola, that is, for hydrological characteristics, it's very involved with a part of floods connected with an eruption. This is the plan of 2001. This is what is on the map: red zone, yellow zone, blue zone. The new plan have a new description of the red zone because it doesn't take care just of the invasion of the pyroclastic floods, but also about the buildings collapse caused by the ash. So this is the scientists that with us put together say, okay, we are talking about the pyroclastic flows, but we cannot forget about the collapse of the building. So we are talking about a new red zone, 24 municipalities. We get into Naples. This is a very new important information. And the yellow zone, the blue zone are defined in the same way, and we are still trying to draw up the border. That's why we are going to review the plan. This is the new plan and the new zone, the new red zone, and you see this is the part of Naples that before was out, and these are the cells, the clusters with the major probability of collapsing buildings. This is the new red zone. Naples is just the name of the provinces because the city is more or less like that. So on this plan there are alert levels. We have 4 alert levels: base, attention, warning, alarm. And you can see on this level all the emergency response with the state of the volcano, the erupt probability, the time estimated for the eruption, and the emergency response. Obviously, then there is a management during the emergency. That is what I was saying before, because the yellow zone is a zone that is a dynamic one. It's a zone that will not be evacuated before the eruption, but will be evacuated during the eruption, depending on the wind and depending on the ash and the lapilli. I was talking about the twinnings. These pictures show you how we spread the people from the municipality to the region, obviously according with the majors, and obviously all this is according with the regions, with the region Campania. The same thing is for Campi Flegrei, as you know, a red zone, and we will talk later on of the difference between Campi Flegrei and Vesuvio, but this is the same philosophy. Red zone is a zone that must be evacuated before the eruption. We are talking about municipality of Naples, municipality Pozzuoli, Baculi, and Monte di Procida. We are talking about 332,000 people to evacuate before the eruption. Planning elements of Campi Flegrei, you see the same philosophy, and obviously the state of volcano and the action and the communication, all this is the issue, is the relationship between who decide and the scientist. What's going on with Campi Flegrei? We have constituted in 2009 a working group to draw the new red zone. This group has elaborated a report in 31 December 2012. And this document was analyzed by the Major Risk Commission chaired by Professor Maiani. And now we are drawing with the Regione Campania the new red zone. And so we'll talk about the twinnings and the evacuation and so on. The same philosophy, but very big difference from Vesuvio and Campi Flegrei. Vesuvio is a volcano with a central conduct. Campi Flegrei caldera with different vents. Vesuvio, one established referring eruptive scenario. Campi Flegrei, several eruptive scenarios. In Vesuvio, we have, according a predefined parameters to move from the base level to the attention level. In Campi Flegrei, we have not. And this is what Professor Babri was saying before about the awareness about people. People of Campi Flegrei have not awareness of what they are. And in Vesuvio, they have more awareness. Not enough, but more awareness. And obviously, in Vesuvio, we have a high number of population living in red zone. And the Campi Flegrei are living inside the caldera. Just to close, open question about the decision-making process. That's why I think that this meeting is very useful for us. Is the timing, evacuation time versus decision-taking time. This is a question that is open. It will be open for a long time. We must exchange our experience on that. We have a problem of false or missed alarm because we can gonna touch a lot of economic loss caused by the action of the undertaking to respond to. This is very important. And the relationship with the local authorities and the population. Our system is the major who has the responsibility to communicate to the population, but the national system have the responsibility to give the instruments to the major and to the region to say what happened and to make understand to people what's going on. Thank you.
I'd like to use a few minutes at least to stimulate some discussion before we move on. So is there a pressing question for Fabrizio?
Just a question about the use of the plants. Meaning, we've seen that these are going to be used during the crisis. But is there any plan to use the plan in peacetime? Meaning, the red zones, or you've shown some probabilistic approach to the thickness of the ash accumulated. Is it going to be used? Is there anything that is planned to be used now to increase the awareness in the area that are more affected, potentially more affected, or strengthen the roofs? Meaning that aside of using this at the time of the crisis, are we going to plan something to do now, from now to the crisis time?
Thank you for the question. And we must work on two different branches. The first is to work on the awareness of people. And that's what was saying this morning also by Professor Rossi. We have done a lot of meetings on the territory with the technical, with the major, with the, obviously side by side with the region, and we must stress this. We cannot hide to ourselves that when we invite the major on this, we have not a lot of majors that come in our meeting. And this is, a responsibility also of the territory. I mean, you can improve, and we have to stress that, but the response of the territory is the awareness of the people. For your second aspect, Campi Flegrei and Vesuvio are in two really different situations from a local law. Maybe tomorrow, Assessore Edoardo Cosenza can give more detail on that. but we are facing with a very restrictive law for the red zone for Vesuvio. So for Vesuvio, it's not possible to build anything inside the red zone. And you cannot even get better the constructions. This is an absurd, but it's like that. We have to take, you know, confidence with that. It's not possible. That's why we are working with the Regione Campania, because we would like to change this. If I'm living in the red zone or in a part near the new red zone, I would like to improve my straightness of my building. It's not possible for me. For Campi Flegrei, there is not this law. So I know that the region is going to put money, also European one, that has to finalize, to get better this situation. So it's working on that issue, and I think that tomorrow Professor Cosenza can be more detailed on that. But we must start that we have different law in the same region, and we have to manage with that.
Okay, Carmen, your question, is that a quick one, or is it better discussed? A very quick one, okay, with a plea for a very quick answer as well.
Thank you. Just how flexible is your plan to adapt to a smaller, for Vesuvius, your Vesuvius emergency plan to adapt for a smaller eruption, something like 1944, or even a smaller, or to a much larger one?
I would like to answer on that. Well, no, it's the scenario that we have imagined, that we have planned with, is a scenario of subplinian eruption. Your question, it's very interesting, because with that we should deal with the scientific part, because I don't really know if the scientific part is able to give us information before the eruption, if it will be a small eruption, a subplinian eruption, or something else. So this is what is our problem, dealing with the scientific part, because obviously when you are going to move the red zone, we are talking about 600,000 people. We must be really, really sure. So it's a very important question that I would like also to discuss during these 2 days, because how the scientific part be sharp, I don't know if I can use this term, to give us the dimension of the eruption and how long before. And if we deal with that, we can also modify our plan. But if we have not detail, we obviously have to take away the people.
Okay, I think we should move on. And as